So, Pierre Polyev, I can't pronounce that, seems to be the most likely candidate to replace Trudeau as Canada's Prime Minister, if he hasn't replaced him already. I'm not entirely sure. But it seems like Canada's turning conservative. So let's see what he has to say about that.
Good day. Canadians desperate to turn the page on this dark chapter in
Talk about dark chapter, huh?
our history might be relieved today that Justin Trudeau is finally leaving. But what has really changed? Every Liberal MP in power today and every potential Liberal leadership contender fighting for the top job helped Justin Trudeau break the country over the last 9 years.
Isn't it crazy though, now that I think about it? How many countries, how many countries are actually going conservative? That's something I find particularly interesting. I don't, I, Me personally, I don't see that as a bad thing, but I do find it amazing, amazingly suspicious. I don't know. I'm not gonna be a conspiracy theorist to say anything because that just doesn't really match my vibe a lot, quite well. But I will say that I do find it very, 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 very interesting. Maybe the left really did fail, and it's over.
All Liberal politicians actively worked to pass into law the job-killing inflationary carbon tax, a tax that Carbon Tax Carney endorsed in his book. All supported a law quadrupling the tax over the next 5 years. All voted for or actively supported Trudeau's out-of-control spending, debt, and immigration. All passed Trudeau's housing policies that doubled.
Oh yeah, what is the housing policy in Canada and Australia and the UK as well, but mostly those two, because it seems like no other country in the world has a housing problem as severe as Canada and Australia. Like, what happened?
The cost of homes. All Liberal politicians helped pass catch and release bail and house arrest for the most rampant reoffenders.
I mean, to be fair, it seems to me that every single country in the Commonwealth, meaning every single country related to the UK, is they have for some reason terrible um, policies, terrible laws against crime.
Policies that increased violent crime 50%, gun crime 116%, and hate crime by 250%.
Hate crime. I wonder what that encapsulates.
So given that Liberal MPs and leadership contenders unanimously supported everything Trudeau has done, why dump him now, right before an election? Have they had a change of heart? Is it because they feel guilty that they doubled housing costs, hiked taxes, unleashed crime, broke immigration, forced a quarter of the population into poverty?
Wait, when he says it that way, forced a quarter of the population to poverty, does that mean that about a quarter of Canadians that used to not be poor are now poor? Or does that mean that the total poverty population just grew to be a quarter? That's my question.
No. They continued supporting Trudeau when he did all of those things. No, their only objection is that he is no longer popular enough to win an election and keep them in power. They want to protect their pensions and paycheck.
I remember back when Trudeau was still popular, a lot of people were saying how attractive he was. I, I don't know if that's the reason why he won, but it has to be since I can't remember him doing anything that actively benefited Canadians. Then again, I'm not a Canadian, so I wouldn't know, but based on the news that I've heard, it's almost as if Trudeau almost did nothing except maybe mirror what the US, what the left-leaning side of the US has been doing. But that's other than that,
By sweeping their hated leader under the rug months before an election to trick you and then do it all over again. Now, while leaderless liberals focus on saving their jobs and fighting each other for power, the country spirals out of control, an out of control housing emergency, an out of control migrant crisis, an out of control $62 billion deficit, not to mention tariff threats from the United States.
That is true. I hadn't thought about that. But I don't think the US is actually gonna put tariffs on Canada. It's just, I don't think that's gonna happen. There's too much the US can lose politically. Not exactly economically, since Canada, not a very strong economy, but politically speaking, yeah, I don't think the US would do that.
Oh, and another NDP Liberal carbon tax hike kicks in this April 1st. Everything's out of control. And now the government is out of control. This cannot go on. We need a carbon tax election now to choose between the NDP Liberal costly coalition that taxes your food, punishes your work, doubles your housing costs, and unleashes crime and drugs in your community, or common sense conservatives who will axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. Canadians can take back control of their lives and their country. Take back control of our border, take back control of immigration, take back control of spending, deficits, and inflation.
Yeah, I mean, it seems pretty obvious, right? I mean, what he's saying, it only makes sense based.
Take back control of our streets by locking up criminals, banning drugs, treating addiction, and stopping gun smugglers. We'll cap spending.
Gun smugglers. Is that a thing in Canada? Because I know here in the US, guns, you can buy guns everywhere. Well, not literally, but they're widely available. I wonder if Canada has any rules against guns and wait a minute. I think they do. I think they banned the sale of rifles. I think assault rifles back in what was it, 2019? Maybe I'm wrong. I'm remembering this wrong, but
Taxes, reward work, build homes, uphold family, stop crime, secure borders, rearm our forces, restore our freedom, and put Canada first.
it's funny to hear Canada say protect their borders because their only border, realistically speaking, is the US. And as far as I'm concerned, it feels like Canadians would be better off coming to the US than Americans going to Canada. But I know what he's talking about. He's talking about the like people being flown in and stuff, from explicitly other countries. Unless there are immigrants who are actively traveling, getting to the US and crossing into Canada, which I doubt.
All with one mission: to bring home Canada's promise that every hardworking Canadian gets a powerful paycheck and pension that buys affordable food and homes on safe streets where all are united for the country we know and love. Canada first, Canada last, Canada always. Let's bring it home.
That was actually a pretty good speech, all things considered. Will he be the next prime minister? I guess time will tell, if I'm being honest. But realistically, I think he's more than likely going to. At this point, there's no justification to what has happened to Canada. They're not even a weak economy. Like, and a similar thing is happening to Australia. But for Australia, I think so far people in Australia still have a pretty decent standard of living. I haven't heard anything negative with their standards of living, but their housing crisis is definitely looming. So I don't know. I guess I guess we'll see. Maybe the maybe the British style of government doesn't work after all.